Thank you for coming here today, this early in the morning.
Yeah, you are the survivors of yesterday, Patrick.
Yeah. We're so happy to be here at Unite. It's been awesome 3 days for us. Today, as the title implies, we're going to talk about new feature and tool creation strategies to optimize small team workflows. To get an idea of what to expect and what we do in general, we're going to talk. The talk is going to be based on a game we're making, which is called Robbie Swifthand and the Orb of Mysteries. Here's a short trailer.
Ακέσα και ελβέει ενερίλο μουστάντι δεν τυχόλ χειροπράγμα.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're the Pixel Rain team. I'm Angelos Gkamiliaris. I'm the level designer and business administrator of the team.
I'm Vicky Fysika. I'm the music composer and sound designer of the team.
I'm Larin. I'm the producer and developer and project leader of the team.
And here you go.
Thank you. I'll just use the computer. I just need to be organized a little bit. What I want to discuss with you today is the way we created the second boss of the game, which you will see at some point of the talk. We had to actually rush the production of that boss quite a lot, and it really helped us to create some of our own tools, use some of the other tools we already had for the game, and abuse the different systems Unity provides us. So it's a really good example how to make small teams work faster on something that needs to be high quality, but done pretty quickly at the same time. So here we go. A really bad concept art made from me. This is the second boss, the first time we all see it. Obviously, it's pretty bad, so don't worry about your own art. It doesn't have to be perfect at the beginning. There's many times when you create a game, you don't really need a super concept art in order to have a rough idea of what you want to achieve, and the more you work on it, the better it's going to look. So don't worry at the beginning. That is, getting nervous at the very start is the biggest hurdle you can have. So the first thing we do is use our own tool. We called it 2D render. Obviously, that's not a name we can use for public right now. We create textures for the game. The game itself, as you saw, look a lot 3D, but it's actually all flat. So we're using a simple geometry and render it with our tool and export it for normal maps, emission, albedo, and metallic. And then we use mostly standard shader inside of the game to make everything look more modern. So this is a sample video where we just basically use some of the things from Unity, and then using our own script and shaders, we produce the final result that's going to be in the game. The second part is, this is just a quad. All right, so this is the mesh where I had to create for the boss. As you can see, there's nothing fancy there. All we needed to do is create the geometry itself. There is no need for UVs, no need for skinning, so everything is quite fast to do. After that, we do the procedure I described before. I import the model in the 3D Studio Max, in Unity, and the tool converts it to 3 maps, as you can see, albedo, normal, and metallic. I didn't need emission map for this one because I wanted to create a custom one. Here you can see that on the left you can see the normal default sprite shader, and on the right is how the model looks. Well, not really the model, how the boss looks when you import all the textures and use the standard shader. All right. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, okay. So here are some of the tweaks you can do to really help you with the game, especially when you have some special needs like we did. So we really wanted to achieve a modern look for a game that's so arcadey, so old school. So what we had to do is to use meshes, skinned meshes, and sprites at the same time, which you all know it's pretty hard because usually mesh renderers and skin mesh renderers only use Z position, how far it is from the camera, in order to decide the drawing order. But sprites are only based on mostly based on sorting order. So we actually used the script we had made in a previous project on another job I had, which enables us, well, enables Unity to have sorting layers and orders in all kinds of renderers, including particle renderers, mesh renderers, and skin mesh renderers. This way, we could use any object that has alpha transparency to be in the same behavior as sprite renderers. And this actually helps so much. I really wish Unity implements this as an option for everyone, because when making 2D games, this helps a lot. And just a simple script. So, starting with the boss fight. Here we have a really basic animation for the boss. What I suggest people to do when you have the base graphics, even if it's not polished yet, you should also start with a simple animation so you can get the feel of what you're making. This way, everything can go smoothly for you. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to make sure that the feeling you want to achieve inside the game is at least a little bit represented on the animation itself, and then you can start polishing the boss. And the good thing about Unity, as we all know, is that when you just edit an image, switch back to Unity, it imports automatically, and then you can see the end result right away. So this is a really great way to polish, having some animation on the NPC boss or whatever you're working on. So you can see all the flaws or all the good things at the same time. So now Vicky is gonna talk to you about adding music for the boss, because we really had to hurry this up, so we needed to work together. This boss was heavily music oriented, and we had to cooperate with Vicky a lot. And it was really a battle between music and development.
Hello.
She's very shy, so
Hello
give her
again.
an applause.
My English is not very good, so I've written down a few words if you don't mind. So, during early design planning for the second area boss, Nick had decided to create a female character. Based on that, we came up with the idea to use singing for the boss's attacks voiceover. So we thought that this could give the character more substance and, of course, epicness. My immediate thought was to collaborate with Vasya Zaharopoulou, who is my friend, and she's a great classical soprano with a tremendous singing range. In order for Nick to be able to begin developing and creating the animation, I had to provide a vocal guide and a temporary track. So I used a vocal library to compose a rough melody that would soon be replaced with the actual recording of Vasya. The final recording of the vocals was one of the most beautiful experiences I have as a composer. It is really awesome to have a soprano delivering one of your melodies. One thing I think is a nice touch is that we recorded the hit reactions of the boss in the same tonality and style as the singing, which gave a more dramatic representation. Thank you.
It's like being in school.
Yeah.
And this is the kid that actually did the homework. So I have to improvise, but each one has its own style. So next, I'm gonna explain how we did some of the animations. Basically, what we wanted to achieve is to have the boss really bond with the music, because she had to be singing and trying to kill you at the same time. So she wouldn't be singing all the time. So there has to be other elements that sync to the music. We had to record separately the voice actor, the singer, and the music. It was playing from different audio sources, and there is a reason for that. First of all, when you have a singer on stage, she has to move her mouth, and it has to be perfect, otherwise it's not working. So the hard way would be to animate everything in the animation, but that would be I would still be making that boss. So what I did, and it's a really good way to add more musicality to your game, is I used spectrum data from the animations, from the voice audio source, and I used that spectrum data in order to just change the scale of the sprite we use as a mouth. With a little bit of tweaking, it can really look good. Like I just added some noise for trembling and stuff, and it really looked amazing without adding a single animation key. The second thing we wanted to do is to express the music with the boss. So I got the tubes from the back. I separated them into separate sprites, and then used spectrum data of the second audio source, separated the spectrum data like you would do on an equalizer or a visualizer for music, and just made them change some of their vertical position depending on the music they're playing, and also modified the particle emitters from each tube to change their size and color and emission rate based on the music they're playing. So in the end, we got quite a good result, which you'll see. All right, so the next part is the most exciting for me, because when I found out this is possible, I was so happy. So I have to make the graphics, the animations, the code, and the design for the game. So it was really a burden for me, even when I start to think that I have to do all this every time I get up in the morning. I'm like, please don't. So when we found out about how we can abuse the animation system and the animator in Unity, it was a lifesaver. Basically, this thing enables you to make complex scenes like a boss fight in a single visual environment, as long as you abuse it well. So what we did is use I created animation, and then I created basic functions which we use to, create the attacks of the boss, spawn bullets. You can make camera effects. You can make play sound. Basically, this play sound function is just a call function for the audio source to play a sound that you define in that event. This way, I could still work on the animation or work on the boss code, and Vicky would just add any type of music or sound event in the animation, and we'd still be working on the same thing without waiting for one another. So if you have something like a character, an NPC or an enemy or a boss, you can easily make most of the things operate based on animation itself, not just code. It helps really when you're cooperating with artists and you don't want just the whole thing to be driven by code. All right, so all right, so this is where everything starts to come together. Yeah, this is basically the same thing I was talking about. You can also use animations to influence things outside of the animator itself. Stuff like, for example, here, I simply have a boolean, which when I enable this script makes expression or Robbie scared and he looks at the boss. So whenever I want this to happen, I just enable it in the animation. You can actually animate your scripts as well, which is really awesome. So you basically, if you have an animator, you can just create some booleans for him, for some events to happen or some functions, and he just calls them during the boss fight or during the animation of the enemy, and they affect things outside of the animation itself. All right, so animators, oh, this is just the overlay of the boss. I just wanted to show this to show you how simple it can look. Okay, this is pretty much the entire boss battle minus some overlays. We actually used, because this boss is quite telegraphed, there is no chasing around the player. There are some attacks it has to do, and most of them are mostly based on the animation. There's a little code running at the same time. So what you can do is basically have an idle animation between the attacks, and then have a function that will decide the random attack between them. So the boss goes to idle, then switches to attack 1, for example, goes back to idle, and then the decide attack event is fired. You just give it a random number, and it switches to a different attack. So this way, the animation and the animator actually coordinate the boss fight for you. And you don't have to make it code-based. You can do it visually, and you can preview everything. This really helps when it's time to how do you say, to balance the difficulty. Every time we create a boss or an enemy, what we do is just sit on a couple of computers together. I have Angelos play it. He hates me for a while. And after that, all we have to do is just move a couple of keyframes, move a couple of events in the animation, and basically you're done. We didn't have to change any code. We didn't have to change any custom timers we had. And this is really amazing when you come from a different environment, when you had to hard code everything. And I think a lot of things, you can even make an entire game using just the animator if you tried. And you can base a lot of things on this kind of environment, this kind of workflow. Basically anything, even animated levels, if you want to. So here, I'll show you the final result. So you can see that all these steps, which are pretty basic, there is a lot of work here, but the concept itself is pretty simple. So it can lead to a pretty good result. Can we have some sound? απλά δεν προλαβαίνουμε γι' αυτό. Thank you.
Thank you. So now that Nick showed all the exciting stuff, we have to make this talk 30 minutes long. So we're going to say a few words about how we made the levels.
Yeah, I'm sorry I ruined it for you.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody's interested now.
Yeah.
So when we started this project, Nick said that I had to make levels that are small, and they have to make levels that have a point. They cannot be an obstacle course, because in small levels, if you make it an obstacle course, either you will have to make too many of them to have a decent playtime, or you will have to make them too hard, in which case not many people will be interested in your game. So we went with psychology-based level design. In case you're unfamiliar with the term psychology-based level design, it basically means I'm a horrible person and I like to torture people. Yeah. With psychology-based level design, I really like the idea of it, but you constantly have to go back and forth to test your theories, like see if they are working, and you have to build the colliders. So Nick made a custom tool and went like, here, have this, make levels. So we made the levels just drafts, then I gave them to Nick. He got frustrated, so I gave them to our tester, who is a pro fighting gamer and apparently never gets angry or anything. So good to have friends like him. So this is our tool, and please Unity, don't sue us for showing this at your convention instead of your free duty tile level editor. Hi, Mike. And we also got it on the asset store. So it helps when you are making tools for your team and your own production that then you can eventually actually sell on the asset store. It might help your team generate more revenue.
Yeah, we actually got a few meals of that. So
yeah,
it was great.
We got an event covered and yeah, a few coffees, which was nice. So this is how we create a level. We first make like something simple that we can block out and just immediately test and see what happens, how it looks like, how it feels like. The thing is, creating the level alone and just the outline and the flow of the level is not what makes it fun. What makes it fun is obstacles and challenges that you face while playing. In which case, Nick has done something that has helped me a lot. He didn't do it on purpose, but it really served its cause. Like, he made the objects in a way that could use them and combine them together. In other words, spikes plus a falling block equals falling block with spikes.
Yeah, when he did that, we were like, me and Vicky were playing this, wait, what's going on? This is not what I created. What have you done? So he's really crazy. You have a guy sitting next to you, making a level while you're coding, and suddenly you hear something like, and he just found out a way to kill someone without him noticing.
Yeah, well, another bottom line is, if you can make your job fun, you're going to produce better results. So allow for these sort of mistakes to happen. Apart from that, we wanted to thank you for your time. And if you have any more questions, if you'd like to play the game, we're at the Made with Unity area. We hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.